welcome to On the House, the show where we talk about movies, TV shows, or video games, because hey, it's on the house. I'm your host, Clancy, and joining me as always is Dave.
Hi.
Matthew.
Hello.
Lynette.
Hello.
And Kiki.
Hey.
Well, folks, this week was Lynette's pick, so take it away.
All right, so for this week, I picked Tentacles. We mentioned earlier in the first episode about Jaws, about how there was a sort of a post-Jaws era where a lot of horror movies were coming out that were basically Jaws clones, but with other animals. And in this particular instance, it is an octopus. So basically, it's just a big octopus that's attacking people, and that's the movie. It's a Jaws clone, and I mean there are some different narrative elements to it. It's not a direct clone. It's not a direct clone like Grizzly, but I'm really curious to see what everybody thought of this because I've watched this multiple times previously, and I love this movie, and I'm biased pretty much to anything that has an octopus in it. So I'm curious what everybody else thinks of it because I believe everybody else had watched this for the first time.
Yes.
Same here.
Yeah, it was my first time watching it too.
And I literally just finished it.
Perfect timing.
Start off with everyone's general thoughts. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I personally liked the. I know it's going to sound cheesy, but I really liked the music in the movie.
Yes, isn't the music so great?
It was intense. The music was. So, I think that was like my favorite part of the movie was the music.
Yeah, I actually like really paid attention to it this time around because I actually listened and like the use of not just the music but the sound effects to create the sort of ominous feel when they're like scuba diving and stuff.
Yeah, with
that was pretty cool.
The ray.
Oh, you mean at the very end?
Yeah, at the very end.
I thought the sound effects in the final scene were kind of a little. They went a little bit off. Yeah, they were a little overboard. Especially with like the pieces of coral falling down. It sounds like rocks, but it's like, dude, no, that's not.
Yeah.
I'll personally stick with the music. My big thing was the main note that tells you that the creature's around. I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of it because it just sort of sounded like a cat running across a piano.
See, I really liked it, and like especially when you get to hear like the full song, like when there's the sailboat part.
That's my favorite part.
Yes, and like I almost feel like isn't it like a similar instrument to like. I want to say like some of like the older westerns, but it had like kind of a more of a western feeling song, which I know doesn't really match with the vibe of the movie, but I really enjoyed it.
Quigley Down Under.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one that stood out to me most was like a harpsichord kind of sound.
Oh, is that what that is? I have no idea what a harpsichord is.
It's like a piano, like an old-timey piano with that twanginess to it.
Oh, that probably is what it is then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I really like that too, and I really like the doo-doo-doo-doo every time you like the oh no, the octopus is there. You can't see him, but you know he's there because the doo-doo-doo-doo is here.
And Clancy stole that cat piano metaphor from me. But
I'm sorry, man. It just it summed it up perfect.
My main takeaway from this was that I was kind of confused.
It really does have a lot of confusing elements to it, and the horrendous acting doesn't help.
And I just,
what confused you most?
One lady's just friggin' huge sombrero.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the main character with the giant hat. I don't know. I liked her because she's got that sort of like big hat included. She's got that sort of quirkiness to her. So I liked her character, but the dialogue is definitely a bit stilted sometimes.
And we'll probably elaborate on this later, but when I was watching it, I wondered what you said was that scene that was questionably edited, and I think I know what it was when I
Oh,
saw it.
totally.
Yes, you
Mhm.
definitely know when you see it because you got the intense music, the swelling, and then the still shots, and they're very strangely
Yeah.
chosen still
I
shots.
legit
Yeah.
thought
There's
there was
literally
something wrong
a
with
lady.
the video.
There's a ginger lady that's sitting there with her mouth open for like 5 seconds, and then all of a sudden it changes to some other scene.
Yeah, when it first hit, I thought it was buffering.
I know,
Well,
right?
I
So did
know,
I. I was
right?
like, but why is the
That's-
music still
that's
going?
actually how the movie is edited. It has a still shot and then it lets go and like in tune with the music. And I think I understand sort of what they were trying to do with like the idea of a still image and you're like it builds the suspense a little bit because you're waiting for it to move. And I guess that's what they were going for is that we got the suspenseful music. How can we create tension? We put a still image where you're waiting for it to move, which
But they did it at the
it's
wrong
definitely
point.
a questionable choice. I get what they were trying to do, so I appreciate the creativity. It's just it
Yeah.
didn't play very well.
Yeah,
And
They
that's
should have done it on like
That came right after
not
that.
that.
I had to ask, like, wait, did anybody die or not?
Yeah, I know because I mean, well, they keep you in suspense for a while on that part. I mean, not that I'm gonna go into spoilers or anything yet, but yeah, for a while you think, oh my word, are they all dead? Like every single one of them, and then it's like, oh well, I mean, I guess.
I must say I did like the pacing a lot more than Jaws. It didn't have too many long, slow
No, it
parts.
was pretty quick paced.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
movie itself was actually pretty quick paced. I did like that too.
I thought there was a lot of slow parts, particularly concerning when the octopus wasn't around. I was just like waiting for the octopus to come back.
yeah.
The
Because-
thing is, they weren't extended slow parts.
right,
what I mean?
but the dialogue was so bad that it
Oh
felt
yeah.
for, especially with the kids. Like, I don't know. It's just like usually I don't even notice bad acting because I don't even worry about acting quality most of the time. I can get pretty immersed, but some of the stuff in the movie was really hard to look past.
Yeah, one thing I made a note of with the editing because I was making notes while watching the film is that as the audience, we are way ahead of the characters on what's going on very quickly.
Oh yes.
So
Well,
that
by the title
explains
of the
some of the
movie,
slow
we're way ahead
points.
of the character. Because of the title of the movie, like even just at the title card, we're already way ahead of the characters.
Yes,
Oh
but
yeah.
for example, with Jaws, they find out it's a shark very early on. And with this one, I felt like we were at the 1/3 point by the time they realized what was causing stuff.
And that was
Yeah.
always that was kind of weird to me too. That they just sort of leaped to the conclusion of it's an octopus, and it's like there was no other. It was just kind of, and they even mentioned like, oh, do you think it's a shark? And they do that like a couple of times. Like they're specifically calling back to Jaws, like, oh, boy, do you mean a shark? No, I mean an octopus. And it's like, how did you come to this? What?
Oh.
I have no idea how they made that leap of logic from like, oh, they've been skeletonized to it must have been an octopus. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll admit, I'm excited to see an octopus.
Whose first
but
thought
whatever.
is that?
Like on what grounds?
Well, he's supposed to be a marine expert, right? We just don't really get to see his logical train, so I thought it was kind of a leap. But
They should have brought in Richard Dreyfuss for this one.
right, the guy playing Richard Dreyfuss in this one is like, oh well, I guess we can't talk about that until the spoiler portion.
We'll get to it, trust
Yeah,
me.
we'll get to it.
I gotta say, my main complaint was the orca sound. It's just straight up dogs whining.
Oh,
It was.
see, okay, the
It
whining
really
sound
was.
I didn't find all that weird. It was at the very ending when they're like attacking and they make these growling sounds.
Yeah. Every time they played an orca sound, it was like that's a dog whining and wanting
Yeah,
a
they're
treat.
like just like, bear or dog growling sounds, and I'm just like, are you serious? You wouldn't even hear any of this underwater. Like,
No,
have
you wouldn't.
seen-
Oh, you can hear a little bit, but
No,
not
that's
that much.
It's like the space movies. Like you wouldn't hear half the crap they put in the movies.
Like, for most of the diving scenes, though, earlier in the movie, a lot of the sound effects, like, you can reasonably understand that they're meant to be creating an atmosphere and not meant to be an actual sound they're hearing. Whereas
Yeah.
the final scene, where where there's the battle going on, it's straight up clear that these are sounds that are supposed to be in the environment, and it's like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So it's like, oh, no more ominous sounds. These are actual sounds. And it's like, well, go back to the ominous. That made more sense.
And then throw the do 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 do.
I just want to say, like, even without death, under some characters who basically just vanish.
Oh, totally.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, I mean, they just suddenly stop showing up in the movie.
Well,
Yeah,
because they
like
were-
Henry Fonda's character, his storyline ends.
What is Henry Fonda?
He's the, well, first off, he's one of the greatest actors of all time, but you would not know it watching this movie.
I think I read somewhere that this feels like if one of those Sci-Fi Channel movies got, like, an Oscar-winning actor cast.
Yeah, between him and the
Oh.
news reporter, it's like, these guys know how to act.
He the like CEO of the company guy?
Yeah, he's
Oh, that guy. Okay. Yeah, he did sort of. Well, he didn't disappear entirely, but they had like a sort of a run. He was like sort of in the background in the first place because they were just trying to provide context for the whole why the octopus attacks these particular people.
hmm But my thing, I was just kind of using him as an example because, he's the big name they got for the film, and in reality, it's more of a glorified cameo than anything else.
Yeah, that's true.
I read that they only had him for one day, basically.
Oh, you could tell. You could.
Or it was either that or, like, he just had surgery and a pacemaker and put in place so he couldn't do anything strenuous.
Both things would explain a lot, quite frankly. One thing that happens at the very start of the movie, like this is opening credits, that I kind of want to touch on real quick, is that opening death where the kid just disappears and you never see what happens. For a film from the 70s to do that, that's kind of ballsy.
Yeah, well, and they
Yeah.
even say that the kid was skeletonized. So it's like you have that sort of mental image in your head of like, oh my word, it was a baby skeleton that washed up on the shore, and it's at the ME's office. Like, that's pretty dark.
Because it's like just 10, 12 years ago, however long this was, the film Trick or Treat was pulled from a theatrical run, and the main reason was because a bunch of kids died in it. So it's still kind of a taboo subject, so...
It became the highest grossing horror film, and that's all about kids dying, so maybe that's going to make a comeback.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say the opening thing, it did kind of shock me just because they just do that thing where a car drives past and then the screen, he's just gone. And
I don't know how that was a surprise to anyone because I thought it was
gonna
so
say that's not
obvious
really
that it was-
surprising to me.
I mean, like, I'm surprised, like, are they going to actually show it or they just did that?
Well, yeah, and the stroller floating, like that was pretty creepy.
It was more
They all
so,
float
I
down
thought
there.
it was going to be a fake out death, where, oh no, the kid's going to get it, but we can't kill kids, so we're just going to make it an almost death thing,
Oh, I
Yeah,
knew he
no,
was a
yeah.
goner from the beginning.
Oh yeah,
I
well,
called
because
it
like,
right off the bat, like, oh shit, that kid's dead.
oh yeah, no, you know for sure because first, like, okay, red flag number one, the mom leaves, like she's not like so far away that you would normally think, but in a horror movie, it's like, okay, she's more than 10 feet away from her child, the child's doomed. And then there's the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and you're like, oh no, it's right there. And then it keeps going, doo-doo-doo-doo, and then you see the cars go by, and you're like, and it focuses in on the character. It's like, dude, it is so obvious what's gonna happen, and it's like, and I think, I mean, they did that on purpose. It wasn't like they were trying to make it subtle. They were trying to make it suspenseful on purpose, but it was still like, yeah, no, if you don't know what's happening, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I have an offspring of my own, but I was pretty irritated with that mom. Like,
Oh my
in a
god.
busy, bustling public area like that, you don't leave your kid no more than 5 or 6 feet, as long as you can like jump to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible mother. Like, flat out.
Yeah.
One thing it was kind of a bummer too is that the people who like, you look past a lot of the stilted dialogue if maybe the acting of like the mothers whose children got killed was a little better, and like, because they didn't look all that terribly distressed. Just to imagine like how horrible it would be for your child to die by a wild animal. That just seems like something you would be absolutely hysterical, and like the women in the mothers weren't very hysterical. Is all I'm saying. It didn't really create that. The proper emotional tension. I feel like.
Exactly.
For me, the one part that did actually kind of work is about 25 minutes in when that one diver is trying to get back to the surface in that capsule or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so great. Because that's like, I believe, or no, that's not the first jump scare. The first jump scare is the body, right?
Yeah, I was actually mention that one as well, because you expect it to be a tentacle or something.
Yeah.
So when the body pops out, it honestly kind of got me a little bit, because it's like you're ready for one thing and then it throws something else at you completely.
I'd say when they were doing that pan zoom, when that girl and the guy were arguing, and I had to rewind it because I'm like, what is that sticking out of the water?
Wait, I'm sorry. When she was what? What are you talking about?
So it was before the jump scare.
Yeah.
It looked like a mossy pylon sticking out of the water. But I guess it was supposed to be...
when they like throw out their line or something, or okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it goes in the water. It's like, I didn't know I was supposed to be looking at that.
But okay, so let's talk about the best part of the movie, which is all the octopus attack scenes. Okay, especially like when the octopus comes up from underneath the boat and they actually use a real octopus. I mean, I thought that was pretty damn amazing. I thought it was amazing that he used a real octopus for like a good chunk of all the different scenes with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, when you see the stunt double model octopus that they use,
oh yeah, you can definitely tell.
See why they put little as possible.
Well, like, especially when it's going towards the sailboats.
Yes.
That's not even how octopuses move. And
It just looks like a torpedo.
Barreling towards, and it's like, it doesn't even look like it's, squishy like an octopus. It just looks like a solid piece moving through.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty bad.
I mean, to repeat what Dave said, this is a Sci-Fi Channel movie. Before there were Sci-Fi Channel movies.
Yeah, they clearly did not study how an octopus moves.
Yeah. But I mean, other than that, I thought they did a pretty damn good job on like the octopus attack scenes. I thought they were very cool, especially like that one scene where they get to see the tentacles, like these giant tentacles, wrap all the way around that lady. And I thought they did a pretty good job with that, like prop wise.
I'd say probably my favorite of the death scenes is, it starts off, and I actually wrote a note that, okay, you're straight up copying Jaws with this scene where it's later at night, they're looking for someone, and they find their boat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When she's looking for her sister, and they go out and they go see, and then of course the octopus comes up and attacks the second boat.
Yeah.
So
naturally.
Yes, of course. Well, and that was I think the first time that I noticed. Well, not the first time, but there's definitely between the real octopus and all the different props they used, the octopus changes size very wildly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the first time that it's really, truly noticeable, I feel like, is when it's attacking that bigger boat. Because it's like, well, now, wait a second. We just saw the relative size of the octopus attacking that first boat, which was way smaller. And now you expect me to believe the octopus is way bigger than this boat?
That boat was definitely a toy, and that was really funny to watch. It really... I couldn't watch that scene without laughing. That, yeah.
Yeah, folks, if you can't tell, this is definitely one of those enjoyable B movies where it's not the best thing ever made, but if you can kind of roll with the punches,
oh yeah,
there's some entertainment to get out of it. If you're not into B movies or so bad they're good movies, this is not for you. But
This is not for you.
yeah. Well, it's definitely in the realm of bad, but like I said, I'm biased because I'm a sucker for anything with an octopus in it. Pun not intended.
Well, to go off of what Clancy was saying, I kind of liken it to the how there's the Scream movies and then there's the scary movies, or like the parodies of them, and disaster movies, not another teen movie, and this is almost like that for Jaws.
Oh. So
It's just like not the outright like self-aware.
But I still have to ask, because I wasn't kidding earlier. Like, did anyone actually die in the regatta attack scene or not?
The sailboat.
One kid.
Yeah, because remember he was holding the radio.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so like it wasn't the main kid, it was the kid's friend, who's 2 years younger than him, and he was like supposed to look out for him. And yeah, he doesn't come back because he was holding the radio, and so the octopus made a beeline for him because apparently radio frequencies piss him off.
of course.
I guess. Sorry,
all the other kids are safe.
Spoiler territory with that. That's supposed to be like a big reveal that it's the radio.
It could be he's looking for a snacky snack, and how we go for microwaves. That's his microwave.
Well, the way I understood it, it was like because they used like too strong of radio frequencies in building the tunnel, right? So I guess now like radio waves are painful for it because they messed up earlier, and so now it just like whenever somebody's using a radio, it immediately is just like, okay, you need to stop that now, and I will stop you. So.
I would think if it bothers an octopus, it would bother a bunch of marine life. And then everyone, it would just be hell on earth.
Like, it killed it killed all those tuna. I think used, like, all tuna, which is weird, because tuna shouldn't be that close to the shore.
And during that entire, like, montage with the freeze frames, you're simultaneously listening to a stand-up act.
Oh my gosh, that was so great. And it's such a bad stand-up act too. It's that not one of the jokes was remotely funny or even a joke. And but like everybody's laughing and clapping along because they're, I guess, just waiting for the race to start or something. And it's, I don't know, I thought it was great. Like it was great in like a tongue-in-cheek kind of like, oh my word, why did they even do that sort of way that they like juxtaposed that with the like intense music of, oh no, the octopus is coming.
Yeah, I didn't get his jokes either.
Yeah, I think they were either just straight up not funny or just not jokes. It didn't make any sense. But I guess it's more realistic considering, like, oh, what kind of stand-up do you think you're going to get from the MC at, like, a minor festival or something? Probably about that level of joke.
Fair enough. Well, with all that being said, you guys want to jump to spoilers?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we touched on them a little bit, but yep, we may as well go full spoiler.
All right, folks. Before we move on to spoilers, we're just going to give you this last quick chance to click off, and then after you see the movie, or if you don't care about spoilers, you can come back here. But here we go. Lynette, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How does he talk to killer whales?
Oh. But like, I'm supposed to know? Like, I mean, I guess the implication, right, is that he trained them, so they have some sort of like a, dad and child relationship with him. Like, I guess it's very. See, I feel like after the boat scene, after the sailboat stuff is done, and we're just at the part where he's gonna take revenge for the octopus killing his wife. I feel like that's when the movie sort of jumps the shark,
Oh,
and
totally.
it's because I don't know. Not only did the sound effects they're not ominous sound effects anymore, they're straight up sound effects of things under the water, which doesn't make sense, and they're nonsensical sound effects, like the killer whales sounding like, rabid dogs, and the octopus sounding like Godzilla or something. Why would you do this? Why would you ruin this perfectly, like, and not that it was perfectly good, but like the poorly, I really tried to see them as orcas, but all I could see was like a bath toy, just like beating at this octopus corpse.
Yeah.
I really hope they use a dead octopus for this, because this is mean. But yeah, I don't know how we're supposed to believe that he's like got this sort of verbal connection with the orcas. But apparently, they're just very loyal to their dad. Like,
And keep in mind, folks, this isn't something that's introduced throughout the movie. You literally see him working with killer whales for one scene early on, and then the next time you see them, he's saying, "I can talk to them, and they listen to me."
Yep.
see, and I thought it was like a horse whisperer kind of thing, where he was just like sort of speaking in vague, like, "Oh yeah, we have like a rudimentary communication, like the way people do sometimes with dolphins or something, or like other animals that they train." And it's like, okay, makes sense, but the fact that they straight up, when the cage got broken, they straight up left, and then they came back, and then they I don't know, save him from the octopus. Like, I don't know if that was supposed to be like, oh yeah, they saved their daddy, or if that was like a, oh look, food. Like,
Well, like, and in the movie too, when the guy says a line that he can talk to them and they can talk to him, the guy sitting with him, he's like, "Well, how do you know when they're telling you there's a shark or something, or when the octopus is here?" And he's basically like, "I know, like I just know."
Yeah, he really didn't give a response to that was satisfying.
No. Like, really?
Well, see, that was the problem. Is that by that point, none of the movie is satisfying. Like, I can't stand that whole like final part with him and the killer whales taking revenge on the evil octopus. Like, the whole thing is like, I don't feel like it matches with the movie, and I feel like, okay, the movie's over. I can check out now. Like,
Would you say it jumped the octopus?
yeah.
I now want to see the version of Jaws where the shark talks.
Is that like an LSD movie?
I am hungry.
I choose to believe in my headcanon the shark in Jaws is the same one from Finding Nemo. I mean, they're both named Bruce and are great whites, so there you go.
Yes.
And since they don't give the octopus in this a name, let's just call him Squidward.
Wait. So does that mean fish are friends, but humans aren't? So that was the loophole for Bruce then?
I guess so. Hey, if people believe that Fight Club's about Calvin and Hobbes, we can make our own fan theory here based on no sense whatsoever.
Again? What?
What
Yeah.
are you guys talking about?
There is a dumb internet fan theory that states that the main character in Fight Club is Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes, but grown up.
Interesting.
It started as a joke, but people just started taking it dead seriously.
How does that make any sense to anyone?
It does.
I'm just gonna throw it
I
out
mean,
there.
it's
Those are
the
probably the
same
people that think that brown cows make chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Or it's the same train of thought that makes people think like the Home Alone kid grows up to be Jigsaw.
Right.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
It's like when somebody does the Rick and Morty thing where it's like, you have to be so intelligent to follow this storyline. Clearly, it is on a deeper level, and it's like, half the show is fart jokes. Just admit you like
I'm a pickle. Like, yeah, that's deep.
Well, we got anything else to say on this one?
I mean, I can't think of anything.
I don't believe I have anything else to put in.
I've said everything I wanted to.
Okay. Well, folks, it sounds like at this point you kind of get the idea of what the film is. It's a Jaws knockoff, but it's kind of an enjoyably bad one, is how I would put it. One where you overlook the flaws because you kind of get a kick out of it.
And because it has an octopus in it.
And banging music.
Yes.
That music was good. I liked
No
that.
joke. When they first like there's that happy tune when they're just starting to do they're starting to set up like the sailboat regatta thing, and it's not the suspenseful music, but I was bopping. I was like, oh, this song is fun.
Oh, they knew what they were doing. Straight up.
So yeah, the soundtrack is great.
I was just gonna say that, for as corny as it is, the actors seem sincere about it.
Again, except for Peter Fonda, who was straight up counting his check before he came on screen.
Do you want me to be in this? Why?
Okay, you get me for 5 hours. Yeah, let's go to final thoughts real quick, and that should be it. So, Kiki, what did you think?
I actually really enjoyed it for his corny and how bad the sound effects were at the very beginning and all the way to the end. But this movie will definitely hold a special place in my heart. So thank you, Lynette.
Wow, I'm actually surprised.
I'll admit that in general, creature features are like some of the kinds of horror movies I watched the least, but I got amusement out of this. Like, I could definitely see myself showing it to some of my friends.
Gotcha. Matt?
I'll probably watch this movie once a year. Like,
You.
Yes.
I did solidly enjoy the movie. How cheesy it was, like Kiki was saying. It definitely has. I think the music is the best part about it.
Oh yeah.
And I'll just say mine before we pass it on to Lynette to wrap it up. This is the kind of film where I feel you don't necessarily want to watch it alone, but if you're with a couple friends and you got a 6-pack of beer between you, oh, you'll have a blast watching this one, kind of laughing along with it and riffing it at the same time. It's an enjoyable, so bad it kind of becomes good type of movie.
Well, personally, I mean, soundtrack, excellent, but it's the second best part for me. But my takeaway from this movie is basically that I really enjoy watching all the live octopus scenes and the octopus attacking the people. I liked the jump scares. I like all the meaty parts of the movie. Basically, everything else was just filler. So.
Well, folks, that wraps up our podcast on Tentacles. But before we go, Kiki, how about a little tease of what we're getting next week?
Well, for next week, we're going to be staying on the ocean, but this time we're going to go under the sea.
Ooh. And it's not the Aristocats, right?
We'll have to tune in and find out.
There's the catfish.
It could be aqua cats, you know?
The aqua cats.
Catfish.
The ultimate catfish.
Well, folks, once again, just thank you for watching. I'd like to thank all my co-hosts for being on this podcast.
Very
You
much.
bet.
Yeah.
Anytime.
And folks, remember you can find our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud. And we also have social media accounts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So if you want to give us a like and a rating or 5 stars or whatever that platform needs, we'd really appreciate it. And finally, before we go, we just want to, as always, briefly touch on times can be very hard and struggling sometimes. And sometimes you just need someone to talk to. If you ever feel like you're alone and you need some help and you don't know what the point is for reaching on, there are people you can call. I've had to call this number myself. It's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's 1-800-273-8255. Remember, things get better, even when they don't feel like they will.